In this video, we will be working with directories in the Windows command line. Now, before we begin working with the actual directories, let me explain what directories are. Directories are a series of folders, if you will, that contain the files for your installations, configurations, settings, so on and so forth. It all begins with the parent of everything, C, or whatever your root hard drive is, and carries on from there. Notice that the prompt gives the current working directory. In other words, the directory that I am currently in. The directory is C users Schnabelt. So whatever your user is, you'll probably see your user once you open up the command line. Now, to list the directories or the child directories to Schnabelt, I am going to type in dir and then press enter. This command is also known as dir within the computing community. Now, under the Schnabelt directory, you see contacts, desktop, documents, downloads, so on and so forth. So, a very convenient command that I like to use a lot is CLS. What that does is it just clears out the screen and makes some things easier to read. Now, I did see the desktop directory within the dir command of what I ran under Schnabelt. So in order to move, I can type in cd space capital DESKTOP and press enter. And now you see that my current working directory has changed to C users Schnabelt desktop. To move back one directory, it might be a little cumbersome for us to type in cdc : /users, so on and so forth. So what you can do to move back one directory or move to the parent directory is type in cd, again for change directory, and then 2 periods, so cd space ... When we press enter, you notice my current working directory is again C users Schnabelt. Now, what if we don't know where a particular directory is, but we remember part of the name? We can search for a directory based on patterns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd to C : cd to C : /, and now I'm at the root of my hard drive, so the very beginning of the whole hard drive of where the parent directory starts, where the directories are parented from, childs to, if you will. So remember the dir command, you type in dir, and I want to find anything that has win and anything after that. So I use an asterisk as what's called a wildcard, meaning any type of string or character after win will be accepted as well. Put a /AD space /S, and what these here are called are command line switches. What those switches do is it affects the original command and makes them do certain features. I'm not going to go too far into detail, but in order to find a directory based on a pattern, just remember it's dir, whatever the pattern is, /AD /S. And you press enter, and there you go. We see we have a lot of different Windows search engine, Windows portable devices, Windows Sideshow enhanced driver. We have all sorts of patterns of win within the system. Now, to note, I did go all the way back to the root directory of C, right? So if I were to stay, again, CLS to clear the screen, if I were to be in the users Schnabelt directory and I ran the same command, it would only go win ADS. It would only go from that current working directory and all of its child directories. So if you want to search the whole system, just go back to your root directory, in my case it's C, and search it from there. So again, I'm going to CLS to clear the screen, and we will move on. Now, Now that we know how to move around within the command line and move to different child directories or back to parent directories, we might want to create directories or move directories or delete directories. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll create some directories. Now notice I have the desktop in the background here of what we're focusing on, and I want to cd to desktop. Again, if you're not sure of if you're not sure where you're moving, just use the dir command, and notice desktop is a child directory to the current directory I am in. So again, cd but notice, listen to the clicking. Only one click and desktop is finished. If the string pattern is complete enough, you can use the tab key to autocomplete your commands. It's going to make your typing so much faster, and then just press enter to complete that. Now, to make a directory, you use the command mkdir. In this case, I'm going to create a directory called test1. Once I press enter, notice that the folder or the directory test1 has been created. Now, I would also like to make a directory of test2. And I press enter, and I've created a second directory. Now, the next portion that I'd like to cover is moving directories. I would like to move test to test1. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I am going to use the move command of test2 into test1. Now notice, in the background, you saw test2 disappear, and now test1 looks different. And if I change the directory to test1, notice when I run the dir command, I now see test2 within the list. Now, to rename a directory, notice when I do the dir command, I see test2, but I want to rename that directory. What you're going to do, instead of using something like rename, I am going to use the move command again. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move test2 into, let's just say, test3. Now it's been moved, right? If I run the dir command again, notice that test2 is now changed into test3. And if you're more familiar with the GUI, you can verify that by double-clicking into there, and it's test3. If I leave this open, we'll do it again. I'm going to move test3 now back into test2, so I'm moving the file, and what it's going to do is it's going to copy the file, paste it, and then delete the original directory, excuse me, not file. So if I press enter, you notice test3 now changed to test2. Now, we're just running some tests here, and I would like to remove the test2 directory from test1 via the command line. So what I'm going to use for that is rd and then test2. When I press enter, you notice that test2 was deleted from the window, and if I run a dir command, from the command line. So yes, that directory did get deleted. And that will cover everything with working with directories in the Windows command line for this course.